Led to new managerial forms and techniques. That's true. Right? Was often capitalized beyond what was needed. I think that's true. They talk about something called watering stocks. They mention this in your textbook. Read it. Is C the correct answer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would say, because we know in the late 19th century that government was involved in loaning money to the Transcontinental Railroad. So that's got to be an exception there. Right? Late 19th century is the late 1800s. 20th century is the 1900s. 19th century is the 1800s. I don't want to insult you, but they use those terms for, often on there. Okay. Anything else on that page? No question 28 real quickly. There's your honors, and there you go. Right? Now, were you able to get that? You did not get that. After all that rigmarole in English, you still did not get that. Isn't it Emerson? Is Emerson the right answer?
What did I answer?
I mean, didn't Emerson write self-reliance?
Oh, but I marked it.
All right. Other questions on that page?
I hate that.
Yes. 27 for Kendick. Somebody asked me about this before. All the kids look at the teacher. The Lowell system. Now, we never ever mentioned the Lowell system in class, but 2 times during reviews. Once when we took the test on that area, and once when we reviewed, we mentioned the Lowell system. The Lowell system was a system of labor, where they took young, unmarried girls from farms throughout Massachusetts, brought them to manufacturing centers like Lowell, Massachusetts, and put them to work in factories. They housed them in dormitories with house mothers who supervised them, made them go to church on Sundays, and, had certain spiritual activities for them. But they worked for like 2 or 3 years to earn money to get married, and then they rotated through. And that's called the Lowell system. Now, based on that was a plan to promote and expand textile manufacturing activities. An agreement among New England states is definitely not. Reform eliminating print, no. A strategy to defend New England, no. A congressional reappointment plan of the 1820s. Now, is A the right answer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only thing it can be, right? Because none of the other things even deal with manufacturing. So it has to be A. Good thing you didn't get this test, because this person has crossed out all 5 answers. So that's not much help. Yes. 29. All right. Colonial Cities, 29, functioned as mercantile centers for collecting agriculture. Is A the right answer? I don't think I'd go any further. The reason they say that, Jason, is we're in a colonial city. They really didn't manufacture goods in Colonial City. They imported them from abroad. And then they took agricultural products that were produced in America and shipped them abroad. Because they were sort of centers of commerce. And that seems like the only thing that could be, would seem like the most. Did you put B? Did you put B? I mean, I could see that maybe, thinking that. A is the best answer. What did you put?
Let's see.
No, they didn't even have any banks in colonial America. I mean, they only had, until the first Bank of the United States, they really didn't have banks per se.
They had like private banks.
No, not really. Yes. The Federal Trade Commission was created in the Wilson administration. In the Wilson administration, he passed the Federal Trade Commission Act, which created the Federal Trade Commission, which was responsible to identify restraints in trade and to issue cease and desist orders. Now, we didn't talk about that directly in class, but many of you mentioned it on your Wilson Roosevelt paper, the Federal Trade Commission and the Federal Trade Commission Act. Do you recall it now, John? You do not. Well, good thing you asked me then. Other questions on that page? All right, let's turn the page to 30. 30 to 39. Any questions there? Dear Kelly.
33.
33. The Palmer Raids. We talked about the Palmer Raids 2 times in review sessions. The Palmer Raids were the first Red Scare. There are 2 Red Scares in American history. 1919 to 1921, that's the Red Scare of the 1920s. And then 1949, 48 to like 1953, that's the Red Scare of the 1950s. That's the one that's associated with McCarthyism. And so the Palmer raids was Mitchell Palmer, who was then the Attorney General in the Wilson administration, kind of, continuing with this idea that there were communists everywhere in the United States, rounded up all these radicals and arrested them and threatened to deport, and did deport some of them. And so when we look at that, which one was it?
33.
Conducted against suspected communists and anarchists. A is the correct response. It was not bitterly opposed. It was not against the alleged financial backers of Marcus Garvey. It was not against the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan would have loved it, so A is the correct response. We did mention that a couple of times in review sessions, the Palmer raids. Other questions the kids may have. Kelly KU. 36 you say to me, Kelly. Oh, this is one that you could legitimately leave blank. However, Gongoloff, who had economics, and Richards, who had economics, who continues to talk to Polymechko, should know this. Yes, go ahead. Keynesian economics is the idea that if there are problems, slowdowns in the economy, that government can alter the level of taxation and spending in order to fix macroeconomic problems. So Keynesian economics is the opposite of laissez-faire. Laissez-faire says, let it go. Just let it go. Right? Keynes said, oh, no. Intervene. Alter taxation and spending in order to fix, recessions or inflation. What challenges Keynesian economics is the stagflation of the 1970s. The stagflation means that you have simultaneous inflation and unemployment. The people that have econ had a little bit of an advantage with that one. Did you get that one? Is B the right answer? Yeah. Did you get that one, Richards? Yes. Other questions the kids may have. Dear Jowsey. 34 you say to me. Oh, the lost generation. The lost generation were those people that were, the writers that were frustrated with what they the sort of, the demise of the Treaty of Versailles, World War I, all, pardon me? Okay, so what are we saying here?
Which is what my English paper's about. It's really nice.
Is B the right answer?
Yeah.
Well, even if they move to Europe, is that true? Is their audience going to be predicated on where they live? Yeah. I kind of think that B is a more simpler response. They were disillusioned. There's the lost generation, So B is a simpler. I don't know that you can categorically say E. I think you say, well, many of them moved to Europe out of frustration, but I'm not sure that's the same thing as E. Other questions? Go ahead. Well, look at that. There's a go. Well, which one always? Go ahead.
What is the Croplean system?
The Croplean system is what we call sharecropping. Is it? Where's it at? Which one?
31.
31. Yeah. That's what we call sharecropping.
Oh, wow.
Shift to sharecropping. Well, the Croplean system is okay. We're going to, a lien is when I have a claim to something you have. So if I put a lien on your house, then I have a claim to the value of your house. If I put a lien on your crop, then I have a claim on the lien, or a lien on your crop, right? A claim to it. And it's the same thing as sharecropping. Go ahead, Kelly.
37.
37. In the 18th century, colonial Virginia and Massachusetts are most like, this is a really tricky question. D is the correct response to that, but that is really splitting hairs. Because we know that Virginia was taken over by the royal government. So was Massachusetts eventually. The only way you could kind of get that is to know that none of the other things are true. But that is true. That's a really hard question. It seems to me that the AP is really not emphasizing the right stuff there. But That's what they, I mean, these are their questions.